Africa is endowed with rich biodiversity, which is essential for supplying food, water, energy, health, and general livelihood for over 1 billion people. However, the continent's biodiversity is being threatened by unsustainable use, and there is need to restore or rehabilitate degraded natural habitats for biological resources.
Africa, we have a huge resources. But the problem is we didn't able to use that resources.
Africa is really the cradle of natural resources in the world. We don't exploit it. And that's something that we can actually exploit and take it to the world market and also consume locally.
And yet, actually, when you look at Eastern Africa and Africa in general, we probably have more biodiversity than any other part of the world. So it's like we are sitting on a gold mine without knowing.
So, what should Africa do to use its biodiversity in a sustainable way? The answer appears to be in science and innovation to find sustainable solutions for Africa's development needs while preserving the biodiversity. The Director General of the International Center of Insect Physiology and Ecology, icipe, Dr. Segenet Kelemu, believes science is part of the solution and that more investment in science is needed.
Science is really crucial for the continent to exploit biodiversity, to protect the biodiversity, and to really boost its bioeconomy. Without sustained and sufficient investment in science and in research and boosting science capacity in the continent, that Africa cannot really move forward to take care of its more than 1 billion people.
Indeed, to realize national and regional development goals and economic growth, governments should commit more investments in science, especially in Africa, where private sector science funding is still very low.
The government must have a commitment to fund these efforts. R&D funding is critically important in each of the countries because it is through funding mechanisms that we see a clear commitment in terms of activities that are rated priority sectors.
To invest in our young people, to take up science and technology and link it to market-oriented capacity building or industries, so that we can leapfrog and build to enhance the industrialization of Africa.
Youth dividend, in my opinion, can be leveraged by ensuring, first of all, that more young people are oriented towards science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, commonly called STEM, but also the technical and vocational education training, the TVET. I strongly believe, therefore, that with appropriate and deliberate investment in science and innovation, this can accelerate the East Africa community rapid socioeconomic transformation, while at the same time create jobs for the youth.
There is some action towards investing in science for economic growth and development. A prominent example in Eastern Africa is investment by the Swedish International Development Cooperation Agency, SIDA, through icipe, BioInnovate Africa. BioInnovate Africa is a regional science and innovation initiative that uses scientific knowledge to add social and economic value to biological resources in a sustainable way. BioInnovate Africa enables scientists in universities, research institutes, and firms to co-develop sustainable biologically based solutions for households and industry while maintaining a focus on biodiversity conservation and carbon emissions reduction.
BioInnovate Africa is a program that has been putting a lot of effort and resources in Eastern African countries to really boost the ecosystem in science and to link policy, private sector, research and innovation all together to make a difference, to also tackle a lot of environmental issues and productivity issues.
Well, BioInnovate is providing a missing link in the chain, which is to facilitate the move from R&D to the market and build the new generation of companies that can use science and innovation to create social and economic value from biological resources.
What has been the gap? The gap we have been having that is hindering development in Africa is the gap between people who have ideas, who generate knowledge like universities or research institutions or even individual players or innovators, to industry.
Because there is a gap on what we are teaching to the universities, there's a gap on what is realistic in the industry, even in the society.
So you have science, what is taught in the laboratory and in the class. So the class gives you the knowledge. Now once you have developed it to a certain level, you then tune it, bias it towards a specific direction you want it to take. And you use different tools to do that. Those tools sometimes we don't have. And that was basically part of the BioInnovate and BioEarn program.
BioInnovate has been able to come and support people with ideas, turn those ideas into products, and turn those products and people who are promoting those products into viable businesses, helping you to find the right path to sustainable economic development using our biological resources.
It's a very good initiative which seeks to harness the potential of young scientists and engineers in the natural sciences and also in policy, coming together and linking their work to not only job creation but also establishment of their own small-scale enterprises, which is what Africa needs to leapfrog in its industrialization, as clearly indicated in the Africa Agenda 2063.
With years of implementation, BioInnovate Africa's model has proven that collaboration at national and regional levels, as well as between researchers and private sector partners, is the surest way to translate scientific outputs into usable and commercially scalable solutions.
The BioInnovate Africa model is characterized by collaboration between university scientists or scientists in the public research institutes, government officials, and scientists in private sector or private companies. So they should work co-creatively to find solutions to address specific needs.
BioInnovate is working with problems that affect poor people. Food security, loss of biodiversity, effects of climate change. Many of the BioInnovate supported projects, they deal with agriculture products, and they are refined and taken to the market, which in the end increases the demand for agriculture products and then increase the possibilities for the farmer to sell, give them some income and give them a bit better life.
There are a few situations where one person only can do it all. And in this increasingly complex world, but there's a lot we can do together to produce a product which then can go wider, can go beyond East Africa, and they can actually be marketed to increase incomes and create wealth for countries. But essentially, we are concerned about what Africa can offer the rest of the world from its natural resources in the form of marketable products. So we connect with companies, with institutions that do research, with universities especially, to see how their innovative minds can actually give us products which eventually can be marketable from our natural resources, be they medicines or food or fertilizer or oils for fuel that are environment friendly.
Strengthening collaboration is very important because institutions and countries cannot work alone. Institutions and countries have to work together in order to flourish. And so I would be very delighted if BioInnovate African programs in the future strengthen the ties related to collaborations?
Collaboration needs to be strengthened by being intentional, and it requires government support. We always accuse governments for not doing this and not doing that, but sometimes governments themselves don't know what to do. You know, we talk of private, public sector collaboration. You know, it's become a buzz statement. But we have to be intentional. Well, I'm an elder. I mean, I've been around for a long time. I was a professor, and you acquire certain wisdom as you go forward. That is one. I have operated beyond the borders of Kenya, right? East Africa, but also beyond Africa, but also beyond. So I bring those experiences from elsewhere, you know, to the discussion. I was in the Kenyan parliament when we were actually coming up with the East African, the new East African. And I remember talking about us learning from each other, leveraging our strengths to come up with a strong Eastern African economy. And that's where BioInnovate actually sits, because we operate with the groups in Arusha who are relevant to what we do. We go to different countries, like we go to Uganda, you know, even though these are individual sovereign states, but they trade together, a lot of projects going on.
Universities are the source of innovation, ideas, and new thinkings, and industries helps to translate new ideas into products and services to offer to the communities, and governments helps to create enabling environment through establishing the appropriate policies and regulations to make sure the ecosystem for universities, industries, and all actors across are fostered and enabling environment is created. So the collaboration of the three entities is really quite important to bring a meaningful impact into the ground.
So unless we join hands between those three different stakeholders, it would be very difficult to achieve the development program we have, and also make use of the resources efficiently, be it finance or infrastructure or human manpower.
As part of its strategy, BioInnovate Africa has invested in partnerships to deliver biologically based solutions to end users in various sectors such as food, agriculture, health, sustainable industries, and sustainable energy. Take, for example, development of biopesticides by the Real IPM company.
We produce and sell biological control agents. These are biofertilizers, they are biopesticides, and also beneficial insects. And through this BioInnovate Africa, we have managed to promote the use of biopesticides to small-scale farmers, and they help us to promote this kind of innovations to smallholders farmers.
We also have the example of using black soldier fly larvae to provide alternative protein in chicken and fish feed.
In the development of the black soldier fly larvae, we are working with BioBoo Limited and also Tafiri, which is in Tanzania. And BioBoo Limited is the company which is recycling waste, and they are producing the black soldier fly from the waste, mainly fruits and vegetables and market waste. Then the black soldier fly larvae, they produce it for us, they dry it and defat it, and then we use it in feed formulation for fish, and we are testing these feeds for suitability for aquaculture. So we do experiments with the feeds which are formulated using BSF, and we've been able to do replacement of soybean meal up to 100% with BSF.
So we're talking about chicken feed, fish feed, dog food, pig food. All animals that need a high protein diet can use this protein supplement in their diet.
At that position, we are able to convince the feed manufacturers that BSF is of value, and it is very important for them to use it in minimizing the cost of feed and to make the feed really available to the farmers.
So for example, some farmers are either using soy as their main source of protein or fish meal as their main source of protein. Now, quality fish meal is imported and is very expensive, and the price fluctuates massively. So what we're looking to do is, when it comes to fish meal, we're looking at coming in at a much lower price point. A lot of soy is imported. And again, this has an impact on the price, because if you're buying at farm gate and if you're buying in large quantities, you can get a better price point. But for a lot of farmers, that isn't the case. Also, they are impacted by fluctuating prices and fluctuating supply. So for both products, for soy and fish meal, we're trying to negate that by saying we'll produce a product locally and we'll do it at a better price point. And we're saying that it is an environmentally friendly product, because not only are we better at the resource consumption when producing the protein, but we're also taking a product that has a negative impact on the environment. So what would have waste that would have gone to landfills, it would have gone into waterways, it would have polluted, wherever it was dumped. We're taking that and we're saying, okay, we're going to convert that into something else.
Globally, including Tanzania, fisheries production from the wild environment, from the oceans, from rivers, has declined drastically. So the demand for fish is higher than the supply, than the fish that is available for the community. We need to emphasize on aquaculture, including fish farming, so that we can supplement, or we can bridge the gap that has been created by the ever declining fish production.
I would really like to appreciate BioInnovate Africa for funding the research that we are doing on utilization of black soldier fly as a fish feed ingredient for fish and also for chicken, because farmers have really embraced it. I'm seeing black soldier fly to be a game changer in the fish feed production industry in Kenya and even globally.
BioInnovate Africa also supported a team to enhance nutrition, especially vitamin A supplementation, with orange-fleshed sweet potato puree in bakery products.
OFSP is in full is orange-fleshed sweet potato, and inside is orange inside, not the skin. It comes in different varieties. You can have with different skin colors, but mainly what is available here a lot is the red color, but inside is what it is orange. And the reason for that represents beta carotene, which it's transformed by the body to be provitamin A, and that's what we use. So what we have done, we use the sweet potato as an ingredient in terms of what we do. So we make a puree out of it, we steam it, we mash it. We have a mincer, specialized mincer, which has been modified to be able to do the puree, and then we incorporate to make the dough, which in return we also make the chapati. But also, not only that, we supply the puree as well to other industry to make bread, to make muffins. You can make samosas as well with it, and you can also do mandazis as well. We're working closely with the International Potato Center. They run a lab, Funnel Food and Evolution Lab. They have been able to establish the quantity of the provitamin A in the chapati.
We analyze the nutritional composition of the different OFSP purees and also the OFSP puree-based baked and fried products. Orange flesh sweet potato has high levels of beta carotene. Beta carotene is what the human body converts into vitamin A upon consumption. And only 125 grams of an orange flesh sweet potato fresh root, which is equivalent to your medium-sized root, provides the recommended daily allowance of vitamin A for a school-going child. For this particular project, we have project partners here in Kenya, Ethiopia, Uganda, and Tanzania and Rwanda.
As Makerere University, of course, now partnering with the Lishe Products Uganda Limited, Lishe is responsible to produce. For us as Makerere University, we see opportunities a lot in the research aspect, but also in training our food science and technology students.
This is an exporting company of certified organic orange flesh sweet potato, which has been grown by refugees and other host communities. Lishe at BioFresh, our role is to produce the puree, to market and to distribute it. The sweet potato puree is used as an ingredient in chapati. It is used also in bread. It is used in mandazis, in scones, It can also be added in porridge as mothers make porridge for their babies, whether it is the millet flour or maize flour.
The demand for orange-fleshed sweet potato should be met with the production of the potato. In another project, scientists developed a sweet potato seed system that allows farmers access to affordable virus-free planting materials.
To the farmers, we are releasing sweet potato vines that are seed material for high-yielding, disease and pest-free material, and material that yields within a shorter maturity period. To the processors, they are getting more farmers producing roots of sweet potato that they can be able to process. And to the markets, they are getting sweet potato roots that they need from time to time for their own personal consumption.
As you will notice, sweet potato didn't have any formal seed system, and therefore farmers were depending mainly on their farmer-saved seed. And in the process, they were losing a lot of yield, and they continue to lose yield. In fact, our study in the previous projects demonstrated that actually, if we used just clean seed without any disease, you almost increase sweet potato yield by over 30%. And we've been working on institutionalizing sweet potato seed systems within the East African region. Sweet potato is one of our traditional crops. It's one of the important crops that we have in the region. It produces very highly, yields are very high, under very poor soil conditions. It can also withstand very drought. So from that perspective, sweet potato is a food security crop.
So we work in collaboration with a number of partners, including Makerere University, the Ministry of Agriculture, vine multipliers, and then some other private sector, in order to make sure that the seed is produced in good quantities and good quality, and then delivered all the way to farmer. When materials are of good quality and are certified material, you can increase yield by over 50%. And some of the innovations that we exploit here are the ones of, say, virus indexing, virus elimination, tissue culture and conservation, and probably developing a model that allows us to deliver our material from the lab up to the final user.
Basically what we do, we produce planting material, but we also incorporate the ICT. We have an app which enable farmers to access information, all the information concerning sweet potato. So that's to simplify the delivery of the planting material. We have now a system where we can raise the material which are sold through that system. And then we registered ourselves to the certifying agents, and we are granted permission to produce pre-basic grade.
BioInnovate Africa also provided solutions to eliminate indoor air pollution by enabling scientists to develop and commercialize a biogel fuel from fruit wastes that burns clean and repels mosquitoes.
This was part of my master's work at Maseno University School of Medicine. And then I thought of how I could make this idea big, but apart from just being a mosquito repellent, but also solving the silent killer smoke in our kitchen, in the rural households. I was able now to get the idea of using bioethanol from fruit peelings, the eggshells, just to get a fuel that now serves the whole purpose. Biogel is superior in that if you compared with these other fuels, for instance, the expensive LPG gas, we realized that when you boil a liter of water on our biogel at maximum, it takes 5 minutes to boil. And on LPG, it was taking 7 minutes. So it tells you that our fuel is more efficient as compared to now LPG and these other forms of fuel. Our fuel also has the potential to repel mosquitoes due to the presence of this monoterpene in it. It also has fragrance from the oranges, thus it is an air refreshener.
For the better part of the period, we've been doing researches, and most of these are not targeting communities. So we felt that for once we needed to do something that would transform lives in the communities around where we live. Our project is such that we encourage the use or involvement of youth and women in our activities. We are targeting young families because the innovation it allows for economical use. It burns for longer. That's one of the advantages. It burns for longer. It is efficient. The other aspect is health-based in terms of as you use this innovation, you also then repel mosquitoes. And that's important because in the rural setup, a mosquito menace is something that we are all familiar with.
In Dar es Salaam, Tanzania, city market crop residues are no longer a waste. A BioInnovate Africa project team, led by Bioeconomy Limited, now uses the crop residues collected from city markets to produce a nitrogen-enhanced biofertilizer.
Bioeconomy was founded in 2015, and we are the first EU and US certified organic fertilizer producers in Tanzania. In 2017, we partnered with 4 institutions, part of the BioInnovate project, to develop or improve one of the products that we've been working on for the couple 3 to 4 years, which was to improve the organic fertilizer by enhancing nitrogen from biological sources. And also, introducing a new production process, which is a pelletization process that can actually improve the performance of the organic fertilizer we've been producing before. And our role as Bioeconomy Limited was actually to really play part in the commercialization and the product development. So we worked with a number of scientists in developing or improving the product to the standard that can actually meet farmers.
I'm the director at Tasam Investments Limited. Yeah, one of the partners that were working together to develop a bio-nitrogen organic fertilizer called Hakika. And basically what we do, we deal with a lot of farmers to supply us fruits that we use to make our products. We do fruit juices from different fruits, and we have a network of farmers, but specifically smallholder farmers. So this fertilizer that we developed, supported by BioInnovate project, is the one that we supply to farmers so that they are able to give us quality raw materials.
The University of Dar es Salaam participated as a researcher. We were involved in the development of the right proportions to develop the formulation for the production of the fertilizer. So we managed to raise the nitrogen level of Bioeconomy fertilizer from 1% to 3% nitrogen. And that was a breakthrough, and we used organic sources of nitrogen to enhance or to bring to that level.
Ensuring we have a clean environment and clean water source, another BioInnovate Africa project team developed and commercialized an integrated wastewater treatment system in Tanzania, Uganda and Ethiopia.
Bioeconomy is a short form of Bioconversion Technologies Africa Company Limited, and this is a company that is coming from research. After many years of research dealing with wastewater treatment, we came up with a technology that can deal with the wastewater in a different way, whereby we don't operate the treatment approach as a linear process. We do a cyclic process whereby we try to recover useful products as we treat wastewater. So we can design and we can build a system and test the system. And what we also put together in the package is the after-sales services, so that you don't just build and leave it there, but whenever there is an issue, you have a team of people that can go and solve the problems that are arising.
When it comes to the Ethiopian at Addis Ababa University, the Biocon, it is called the commercialization of integrated systems for agro-waste bioconversion in Eastern Africa. So ours was focusing on tannery. Of course, now we are moving to different wastewater types. So we are now operating as a startup company from Addis Ababa University.
To me, as a professor of a university, it's very encouraging to me because I'm doing business, but that business is feeding back into my profession. It's feeding back into my classes. and it creates that kind of harmony which I truly enjoy.
In Uganda and Kenya, a BioInnovate Africa project is using honey to produce high-quality aroma honey toffee sweets as a healthier alternative to using processed sugar.
We produce sweets from honey with zero processed sugar. Right now, we completed the factory thanks to BioInnovate Africa and her partners. In the month of July, we received certification for aroma honey toffee from the Uganda National Bureau of Standards. BioInnovate Africa has also supported us to participate in a number of expos and exhibitions where we can now fly as a business with a quality product.
Edible insects are a delicacy for millions of people in the Lake Victoria Basin. A BioInnovate Africa project team has scaled up edible insect farming and using this to enrich the protein content of several food products.
INSBIZ is short for insect-based agro-businesses for cricket and grasshopper production and processing. We wanted to encourage and upscale insect farming. And we have been very successful at that, both in Kenya and Uganda. We have insect farmers that are growing insects commercially, and these are going into food products.
There's a lot of benefits in terms of dietary as well as therapeutic opportunities if they are to consume this product. And the way we do it is transforming traditional products, which like eating whole insects, into a high-value new generation product like chocolate bars, like a Vita bulk, like a pasta fortified with insect protein, or you could have porridge for children fortified with insect-based products. So insect become like a fortifier of existing food system, making them already similar to what the products are already in the market, and therefore that reduces the disgust factor that you might experience in some of the high-end communities.
BioInnovate Africa also inspired scientists to contribute solutions for addressing the COVID-19 pandemic that ravaged many countries in the pandemic years 2020-2021. Scientists in the BioInnovate Africa network proposed several biologically based solutions for the pandemic.
Since the start of the COVID outbreak in Ethiopia, there was a call from BioInnovate Africa, and we applied to develop simple, cost-effective method, monoclonal antibody-based ELISA method, and that method is disseminated to the whole poor people so that we can easily detect the virus throughout the population.
The product we are developing is an immune boosting salad dressing. This makes use of bioactive compounds in the medicinal and aromatic plants that are existing in our country. This is in response to the COVID-19 pandemic and the need to increase immunity of the people. With the support of BioInnovate, we've been able to establish a distillation plant for essential oils and the edible oils that we need for the salad dressing.
These and other examples of the biologically based solutions developed with support from BioInnovate Africa demonstrate how a sustainable bioeconomy can be a game changer in climate change mitigation and adaptation, biodiversity conservation, and overall improvement in people's lives. A number of experts agree that developing a sustainable bioeconomy is the growth pathway that Eastern Africa should pursue. They also argue that bioeconomy could give the region a competitive edge in the sustainable industries of the future.
Building a bioeconomy for each country and also regionally is really crucial, and I'm really happy to realize that Africa is also getting into that also. There is now a focus on protecting biodiversity, a focus on bringing nature-based solutions, focused on creating healthy ecosystems, focus on also linking all these different areas into sort of one health approach to create a healthy environment for everyone involved, whether it is agriculture, whether it is human health, animal health, and everything else that touch our lives.
The East Africa region is a region which is so rich in biological resources, and this is the opportunity that has not been taken, to develop an economy including new companies and products and export opportunities based on this bioresource is the big opportunity of development for the East Africa region.
So the future economy is bioeconomy. Unless we really manage, the biodiversity, and with the increasing growth of population and urbanization, unless we really have a balanced way of, managing our bioeconomy, it is not possible for us to succeed in future.
There's so much potential for bioeconomy development to make a difference in Africa and Eastern Africa. Internationally, there really needs to reach out to actors in Europe, in the United States, in Asia, to come in and link to various innovation platforms. There's an enormous need for additional funding and risk capital and venture capital for things to happen. So there one needs to find mechanisms to leverage on all these capacities and all these activities going on in the region, which sometimes are limited, or very often are limited in terms of financing their deployment in society.
East Africans stand to gain a lot from bioeconomy. It's a new concept, but we are going to embrace it, and we have already embraced it.
We can say, therefore, that bioeconomy is the future growth pathway for Eastern Africa, given its rich biodiversity, budding scientific talent, and a growing appetite for economic growth and transformation in the continent. Experts believe that bioeconomy prospects are high for Africa and humanity at large.
I think there is a bright future for science, a bright future establishing strong, vibrant bioeconomies, and a bright future also to develop technologies and products and innovations that are environmentally, socially, and economically sustainable for all people involved.
We believe that universities, both now and in the future, will play a critical role in fostering the advancement of sustainable bioeconomy, because sustainable bioeconomy is quite scientifically intensive, and the only people who can help drive and help create sustainable businesses in this regard would be scientists from universities and public research institutes, or those scientists who are working in the private sector.
If we can build these companies and businesses and production in the rural communities, it will become much more attractive to stay and have a future for young people in the countryside. So therefore, I think if we can do this right, it's a real opportunity for youth to become part of this new bio-based economy.
We do hope that through the BioInnovate program that we are influencing this by making sure that whatever is being done at the right standards, the right systems, and hopefully if people see that there is a little jewel somewhere which seems to be working, that there can be replication, and with that slowly have some little influence to get the development that we so desperately need.
Hopefully the ideal situation to improve the standard of living, to improve the food security for the poor people, that research results in the context of the region or the specific country, in the end benefits the population.
We are walking the journey towards that ideal situation of a better life for all. But we must work together, governments, academia, and industry, to co-develop sustainable solutions that secure the future of humanity. That is what innovation in the development context should mean now and in the future. BioInnovate Africa, improving lives through sustainable bioinnovations.